I lab tested all coffee brands. Results are shocking. The coffee in your mug right now may contain mold toxins linked to liver damage. Not as a fringe risk, not as a worst-case scenario, as a documented reality sitting in bags on grocery store shelves across America right now. Mycotoxins. Ochratoxin A. Pesticide residues banned in the European Union. Words that do not appear anywhere on the bag you bought this morning because the FDA has no mandatory testing requirement for any of them in coffee. None. Brands are not required to test. They are not required to disclose. They are not required to tell you anything beyond the weight of the bag and the roast level on the front. My name is Dan Miller. I have been buying groceries for this household for the past 20 years, and I thought I knew which brands to trust. Last week, I sent 10 of the most purchased coffee brands in America to an independent laboratory. Mycotoxin screening, pesticide residue analysis, acrylamide testing. The kind of testing that tells you exactly what is in your cup regardless of what the bag implies. 7 brands could not clear every bar. 3 did. The worst one is first. Number 1, Nescafe. You know this jar. The instant coffee that has been on kitchen counters across the world for over 80 years. The jar your grandmother kept. The one that dissolves in 10 seconds flat and tastes like the idea of coffee rather than actual coffee. That convenience is the product. What makes it convenient is the problem. Nescafe uses a spray drying process that subjects coffee to extreme heat multiple times. That heat produces acrylamide, a chemical the World Health Organization classifies as a probable human carcinogen. Independent laboratory testing has detected acrylamide in instant coffee at levels significantly higher than brewed ground coffee. The spray drying does not just dehydrate the coffee. It chemically alters it. For seniors drinking 2 or 3 cups a day because it is fast and affordable and it has always been in the house. For families making instant coffee for teenagers who need something quick before school. The jar is convenient. The chemistry inside it is not. Instant does not mean harmless. It means processed to a degree. Ground coffee never reaches. Number 2, Lavazza. The Italian name does a lot of work on that bag. It implies an espresso tradition. A small roastery somewhere in Turin. 100 years of Italian coffee culture distilled into every cup. That story is real, and it is also the reason nobody reads the back of the bag. Lavazza is now a $2.7 billion global corporation sourcing beans from international commodity markets at the scale that makes premium Italian branding impossible to verify at the farm level. Third-party testing has detected Ochratoxin A in Lavazza products. Ochratoxin A is a mycotoxin produced by mold that grows on coffee beans during improper storage and transport. The European Food Safety Authority has identified it as a nephrotoxin, meaning it damages the kidneys with cumulative exposure. For the coffee drinker who pays more for Lavazza, specifically because the Italian heritage implies a sourcing standard above the commodity shelf. The espresso tradition is a font choice. The mycotoxin testing is what the bag never mentions. Number 3, International Delight Iced Coffee. This is not coffee. Read the label. The first ingredients are water, reduced fat milk, and sugar. Coffee appears further down the list than carrageenan. Carrageenan is a thickener derived from seaweed that independent researchers have linked to intestinal inflammation. This product contains artificial flavors, sodium phosphate, and enough added sugar per bottle to exceed the American Heart Association's recommended daily limit in a single serving. For parents buying this for teenagers because it says coffee on the front and feels less concerning than energy drinks. For diabetics who grabbed the sugar-free version and did not read the artificial sweetener stack underneath that claim. The bottle looks like a coffee drink. The ingredient panel looks like a chemistry homework assignment. That is not coffee. That is a dessert beverage with a caffeine footnote. Number 4, Death Wish Coffee. The skull on the bag is doing exactly what it is supposed to do. It tells you this coffee is extreme. It warns you. The problem is that the warning is about caffeine, and the real issue is something else entirely. Death Wish markets itself as the world's strongest coffee. To achieve that caffeine density, the blend relies heavily on Robusta beans. Robusta contains significantly higher levels of chlorogenic acids than Arabica. It also has a documented tendency to carry higher mycotoxin loads because it is a hardier, cheaper crop that survives conditions Arabica beans cannot. Independent testing has flagged concerning mold toxin levels in high-caffeine Robusta heavy blends. Death Wish has faced scrutiny over botulism risk in its cold brew canned products, issuing a voluntary recall in 2017. For athletes putting this in their pre-workout because the skull implies strength. For people with heart conditions who underestimate the cardiovascular strain of extreme caffeine doses in combination with unregulated mycotoxin exposure. The skull was supposed to be edgy marketing. It turns out it was describing the sourcing philosophy. Number 5. Folgers. The best part of waking up has been in American kitchens since 1850. That jingle is so embedded in the culture that questioning Folgers feels like questioning mornings themselves. 3 generations of American families woke up to this can. The smell is the memory. The memory is the marketing. Folgers is owned by J.M. Smucker, the same corporation that owns Robin Hood and Martha Whiteflower. The coffee inside the red can is a commodity blend sourced from the cheapest available beans on the international market. Independent laboratory analysis has detected pesticide residues in Folgers coffee, including chemicals used in countries with weaker agricultural regulations than the United States. The commodity blend, heavy and Robusta, carries documented mycotoxin risk from beans stored in humid conditions across long international supply chains. For seniors who have made Folgers every morning for 40 years, because the can is familiar and the price is right. The jingle never changed. The sourcing was never the point. The red can built loyalty on a smell. The contents were never subject to the loyalty test. Number 6. Starbucks Bottled Frappuccino. This one sits in the refrigerator section next to the kombucha and the cold brew and looks like a reasonable choice for the health-adjacent consumer who wants caffeine without the drive-thru. The Starbucks name implies a sourcing standard. The bottle implies freshness. Read the ingredient panel. Sugar is the second ingredient. High fructose corn syrup does not appear because Starbucks replaced it. What replaced it is still a processed sweetener stack delivering over 30 grams of sugar per bottle. Carrageenan is in the formula. Artificial flavors. Potassium phosphate as an acidity regulator. For pregnant women who grabbed this because it felt like a safer caffeine source than energy drinks. For diabetics choosing coffee over soda who did not check the sugar content because the Starbucks brand implied they would not need to. The logo is green. The sugar content is not. Number 7. Green Mountain K-Cups. 14 billion K-Cups were produced last year. 14 billion single-use plastic pods, each one holding pre-ground coffee that was sealed inside that pod at some unknown point before it reached your machine, sitting in contact with plastic through heat and pressure every time the machine runs. BPA-free does not mean chemical-free. The plastics used in K-cup production contain alternative compounds that independent researchers have detected leaching into the beverage under the heat of brewing. The pre-ground commodity coffee inside has a higher surface area exposed to oxygen and moisture before sealing, which increases mycotoxin risk relative to whole bean coffee ground fresh. For the office using Green Mountain as the default pod, because it is everywhere and it is easy. The convenience is real. 14 billion pods and 0 published testing on what the plastic transfers into the cup. That number belongs on the box. Number 8. Great Value Coffee. Walmart did not grow this coffee. They contracted for it. The lowest cost per unit that meets the minimum legal specification to be sold as coffee in the United States is the only standard that governs what goes inside this can. No named farm, no country of origin beyond the vague multi-country commodity blend disclosure, no published pesticide testing, no mycotoxin screening results available for consumer review. DNA testing on commodity coffee blends has found species adulteration, cheaper Robusta sold as Arabica, filler material processed into the ground blend at levels the label does not reflect. For budget families who brew a pot every morning because coffee is one of the last affordable daily rituals left. The price makes sense. Nobody checked whether the product was safe. Those are two different conversations, and Great Value has only ever been interested in one of them. Number 9. McCafe. McDonald's coffee costs less than $1 some mornings. That price is not a margin gift. It is a procurement decision. McCafe sources commodity beans through supply chains optimized for the volume that makes a sub-dollar cup of coffee possible at 40,000 locations globally. Independent analysis has flagged pesticide residue in McCafe products consistent with beans sourced from countries with less restrictive agricultural chemical regulations. No third-party mycotoxin testing results are published. No named sourcing partnerships exist at scale. For the family stopping at McDonald's every morning because it is on the way and it is affordable, the dollar cup is real. What makes it possible at that price is the part nobody puts on the menu board. Now the 3 that passed. Safe pick 1. Purity Coffee. Purity built the entire brand around one thing that no other mass-market coffee company does. Third-party lab testing for mold, mycotoxins, pesticides, and acrylamide before every bag ships. The results are published. Every batch. USD A certified organic, no commodity sourcing. Named farms. The coffee is specialty-grade Arabica, tested at roast levels specifically chosen to minimize acrylamide production. This is the only coffee brand that shows you the lab results before you ask. Safe. Pick 2. Life Boost Coffee. Single-origin Nicaraguan beans from a protected mountain environment. Shade-grown, which slows the growing process and reduces the conditions that allow mycotoxins to develop. Low acid. Third-party tested for over 400 toxins. The testing protocol is publicly disclosed. For people with acid reflux who switch to coffee alternatives because no coffee brand ever addressed the acid load. Life Boost addressed it and then tested for everything else on top of that. Safe pick 3. Kicking Horse Coffee. Certified organic. Fair trade. B Corp. Certified, which means an independent organization audited the entire business against social and environmental standards that have nothing to do with marketing and everything to do with what actually happens in the supply chain. The beans are Arabica. The sourcing is documented. No mycotoxin screening published at the level of purity, but the organic certification and supply chain documentation puts it in a different category from every brand on the avoid list. Open your cabinet right now. Pull out the bag or the can or the pod box. Flip it over. Look for a country of origin beyond blended from one or more countries. Look for organic certification. Look for any published testing result. If you find none of those things, you are drinking the output of a supply chain that was never designed to tell you anything. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe and click the next video on your screen for another breakdown on the everyday foods your family is using right now.